Welcome to part 8 of the Hexi Cardi crochet along. What I'm going to do is we're working on the arm and the infill today. So I'm going to unpin the arm because what we want to do is to make our length. We want to do backwards and forwards on the end of the arm. So let's get started. Just going to turn it around so I can see what I'm doing. Here we go. Right. Now, do you remember in part 4? We measured how many rows we needed for the arm, and I needed 15. I'm just going to put a stitch marker in there because I know that's before all of my rows. So when I count my rows, I can just count from there. Right. So we are going to whack a chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 doubles in this space. This is where it gets exciting on this part, and we might actually join the cardigan, but let's see how far we get. Right, and now we are going to do our cluster into this space and all the way along. So I will meet you when I get to the other end. I think we all pretty much know what we're doing when we're doing these like granny stripe rows now, don't we? Don't forget when you're doing this, you measured, so you do the length that you need, not my 15 rows, okay? So we're nearly coming to the end. I'm going to whack a cluster in here, and then we're at the corner, but we're not going to treat it like a corner, we're just going to treat it as the end. So we're going to whack a cluster in there, so 1, 2, and 3. Then we are going to chain 3, and then we are going to turn our work. So now what we're going to do is, there's no chain space here, so we're going to do our next cluster into this chain space. And we're going to go all the way along back to the other side, and I will meet you when we get to the other side. So we're almost at the other side, so whack a cluster in there. And a cluster in this one. And then we are going to whack a double crochet at the top of the chain there at the beginning. Then we're going to chain 3. We're going to turn our work again. And then we're going to put a cluster in here because there is a chain space. So there's my cluster because I've got the chain 3 and 2 doubles, and then we're going to whack a cluster in here, and I will meet you when we get to the other side. Now we're almost at the other side, so we're going to whack a cluster in here and a cluster in here. And you will see we have a chain space right at the end, so we're going to whack a cluster in there too. And then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to turn our work, and then our next cluster will go in here. Now I am going to meet you when I get to the end of my 15 rows. I think I'm on row 4. Yeah, I'm on row 4 now. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll meet you when we get to the end of row 15. And so I'm just coming up to the end of my 15th row on this arm, and then I will show you what we're going to do next, because we're not just going to do the arm today. We are going to do the infill if you need it. You may or may not, we will see. And then we will attach both halves together, which is always an amazing point because you look and you think, yes, it's not just 2 halves anymore, it's actually a cardigan. But we are nearly there, so just the last treble in there, and then we are going to fasten off. And this is also where I turn the Hexi back in the right way. Right, so we fastened off. So next we are just turning both sides back in the right way, and we are going to get some stitch markers, and we're just going to put a couple of stitch markers along the arm because we are actually going to try this on. So the reason I just put a couple of stitch markers along the arm is so that when we try it on, our arm doesn't come straight through. And this is where you can check that you like the feel of it. You can check that you've done all the right, you know, measurements everywhere. And we can just see if you think we need some infill on the back. Don't remove this stitch marker. This is very important. Don't remove it. That is where we are going to attach the arm up to. So if we move that, we may end up stitching our whole neck closed, and that would not be a very good look. So this is the second half here that I'm just stitch marking the arms together for now, and then I'm going to get the other side and I'm going to do the same, so bear with me. So here's the other side, and we're just going to turn it in the right way. I love it when I turn it in the right way because it looks so much better. Just look at the colours on that when it's the right way, isn't it amazing? Right, now we're going to do the same as we did on the other side. We're just going to put some stitch markers in the arms so that we can try it on. Try and just join them in the same place. Oops. It's always good if you've got a lot of stitch markers at this point. Oops. And then if we need to do an infill, I'm going to give you two options. Well, there's lots of other options, but I'll give you the two that I would go with, and then you can decide. We are now going to get the two sides together, and we're going to stitch marker them together as well, so that we can check whether we need an infill in the back. The front we don't, because we're going to have button band, but the back we might. So this is just how I'm going to try it on. And quite often what I do is, if I'm on my own, I'll take a video and I will spin round, and then I will re-watch the video and see if I think that it's big enough at the back or whether the stitch markers are too stretched. I'm just doing, I don't know how many clusters are in between, but I'm just doing it roughly the same amount of space all down the back. Right, and then we'll do one here and one here. Well, I'll catch you in a second. Right, so this is going to be the first try on of our cardigan. So we are, oh my gosh, it's so hot. We are going to have a button band, which will be good because I need it at the bottom. But if we spin around, if you've got a wide gap that's not going to crochet together easily, then you need an infill. I'm going to stop the video now. I'm going to have a little look and see if I need an infill. I think I do. So actually, I've just played that back and I don't really feel like I need an infill, but because we're going to have a button band, I think that I'm going to do one more granny stripe down the back of both sides, and that will be my infill. But if you don't want a granny stripe, I'm going to show you another way you could do an infill. So what I've actually done is I've done lots of little squares, and then I've joined them all together, and then I've got a strip of squares down the back. So if you don't want to do a granny stripe, you could do lots of little squares. So I'm going to do 2 granny stripes down both of the back, just the back of my granny Hexi Cardi. Right, so what we're going to do here is we are going to undo these stitch markers. This is the back of our work. So we're going to undo the stitch markers, and then I will show you what to do next. So we've got the last one. What I'm actually going to do is, just so I know that this is the back, because I'm going to work on the other one first, I'm going to put a stitch marker so that I know that's the beginning of the back or the end of the back. I'll work it out in a minute. And then I'm going to do the same here. Right, so that is the top. And this is the bottom. Oh, this is my wonky one. That works even better actually. I'm going to put my crochet hook in here, and I'm going to join the yarn, and I'm just going to do 2 granny stripes. I'm going to do one up there and one back, and that will be my infill for this side. One, 2, 3, and then we're going to chain space into there. 1, 2, 3. So again, it's just, you notice how I did a chain 3, now I'm doing a cluster in the granny space, cluster in the space, cluster in the space, all the way along. It's the same as what we've done for the length and for the arms, but we're just doing an extra couple of stripes at the back. Like I say though, the squares, if you want to like make it look really pretty, the squares are absolutely amazing. Right, I'm going to join you at the other end. You will notice when you get back to where we were doing the width, you get to a corner and you end up with an extra cluster, but do not worry about it, it sorts itself out. Now I'm just approaching the end of the first row, so I'm going to whack a cluster in here. I'm going to leave that stitch marker in place just so I know that this is the back, and then like we always do, there's a chain space there, so we're going to whack a cluster in. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to turn. And then we are going to do a cluster, 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 right back to the other end. I will catch you when we get there. When we go back the other way, I find it's always a good idea if you can pick up where we've crocheted over that little tail, because then if you crochet over it again this way, it hides it even more. And just do the same all the way along. We are nearly at the end of this infill. We are nearly on to the next one. Right, what we're going to do, once we finish the infill, we are going to join them at the back, and then in the next part we will join the arms, okay? Right, so here I am at the back, and I've just got to the end of that row, so I'm just going to fasten off. And then I'm going to do the other side. And when you get to the end of the row on the second half, what we do is we fasten off. Right, now you've got 2 options, okay? You can single crochet all the way along, joining them together. Here we go, so now I've got them side by side. So what you could do is you could fold them together, so put this one on top of this one, like this, and you could have these 2 together, and you could single crochet the whole way along. What that will do is that will give you a ridge at the back, and it won't be very discreet, it'll be quite obvious. So what I'm going to do is a mattress stitch. Let me show you. It may or may not help you to stitch mark these 2 sides back together just while we join them. And I'm just going to do the top and the bottom. I will be taking one out in a moment. That one will go in there like that, and that one in there like that. Then you need to get yourself a fairly long piece of yarn and a darning needle. So there's my fairly long piece of yarn, and there's my darning needle. Then we need to obviously thread the needle. So I think because it's sewing, I was like, oh, I'm no good at sewing, I don't think I'll do that. So anyway, I'm going to take that bit off. Ignore all the ends, we'll come to the ends afterwards. So I'm going to pop my yarn in there, and I'm going to put it almost all the way through, just like that. And then I'm going to find the back, the stitch closest to me of the other side, and I'm going to pull that through. Don't worry if it's too loose, because, and I know we do need to knot that, but don't worry about that too yet. Now find the next stitch on this side and go through 1 loop. It's obviously better if you've only got like a small piece, but then find the loop closest to you on the other side. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to keep going backwards and forwards between these loops all the way up the back. So now on this side, then this side, And then this side. And just keep going until you are all the way up the back. I will join you when I get to the other side, okay? So we are nearly at the end, and let me show you what we're going to do when we get to the end. Still got a couple more to go, but we're nearly there. How are you finding it? I find this a bit tedious, but I think the result is amazing. So almost there, last couple. Make sure you do go right to the end though. Right, there we go. So I am right at the end, as you can see. Now what we're going to do is, and this is going to sound really strange, we are going to pull gently both ends, and what that does is tightens it. Okay, so if we pull, make sure you're pulling the right bit. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Hopefully you'll see it anyway, but if you pull it, or you can hear it. Hear that? There you go. Right, that is tight. So that is now sewn up. You can still see it, but it's not as bad as if you'd single crocheted it. But what you do need to do is just tie these ends off, because otherwise what's going to happen is it's going to come loose. Now, where's that end there? So I could, oh, I've just done it again, silly Gina. There we go. I'm going to tie it with this one here, because these ends are going to be sewn in anyway. There we go. And then what I will do is show you what it looks like on now. Bearing in mind, we haven't done the arms. We will join the arms next time, and we will do the cuffs next time. Okay, but let's see what it looks like. So here we have our two halves sewn together. I do love that when you do the two halves you get different colours. I know, I'm pretty sad, but I do love it. Right, next, let's get it on. So as you can see, when I turn around, my Hexi Cardi is now a cardigan. Ta-da! So next time we are going to, you could get ahead if you wanted. Attach from where your stitch marker is all the way down your arm. You could do a mattress stitch or a single crochet on both sides. That is the next part, and then we will work on the cuffs because I don't like massive cuffs.